I'm Peter Parsley,
I'm Greg Holland.
and these are our reflections on Sundown in Glenwood. Sundown in Glenwood was a short film that I wrote and directed that we made through the Valencia Film Program in 2008.
Yeah, I co-produced it, I guess if that's what you call it. I also did key grip and electric.
Yeah, and I wrote and directed it, I already said that. And one of the reasons we wanted to do this video was because we wanted to have a couple different angles on how it went down. So if you are going to make a movie through your school, or you're thinking about doing a movie through your school, or something like that, we have a little bit of an interesting insight to this sort of thing.
Somewhat of a buyer beware, but also things that you should remember to enjoy, because it can be the best experience you ever had.
Or it can be the worst experience you've ever had.
I don't think any memories come without thorns, but this was definitely, oh God, I remember hating this. But you know what? This was so much fun.
Yeah, it's a mixed feelings. It's a lot of mixed stuff going on there.
You want to start talking about how we got this all together, script, meeting each other, I guess, kind of, sort of?
Yeah. The first thing we got to go through is pre-production. I first came up with the idea for this movie back in 2007. I remember it was January 2007. I decided I was going to write a vampire flick, and it was going to have the elements of an action, a thriller, comedy, lots of the kind of stuff that we grew up with, you know, like The Lost Boys, From Dusk Till Dawn, John Carpenter's Vampires, just all that kind of thrown in a blender, but also my own movie at the same time. And so the idea was I was going to write this film and then hand it off to somebody else to direct, because I've seen other people do that. And I'm like, I want to be able to do that, because at that point I had directed like 5 short films or so, and I wanted to see somebody else take my script and maybe change up the dialogue, play with it however they want to, or keep it all exactly the same. I wanted it to be an experiment, but as you already know, that's not how it went down. I had to step up and direct it.
It was a different experience, because initially, I remember you showing it to a couple other people. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was just kind of like, I'm going to lay back and do this program. And then you showed it to me, and I was looking at all the crap everybody else was talking for the Potpourri program, which was just us producing a bunch of different shorts.
Yeah, we should talk about what the film Potpourri is.
Yeah. So the school and the film program has this great part where, okay, you do a couple of films, which maybe it's not in that order, but
three movies.
Well, yeah, the students get a chance to produce films, but it was a fantastic chance. And I remember Peter showing it to me, and I can't remember why he was so apprehensive, but I was like, dude, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And he's like, I don't know about it. I'm like, come on, Peter, we can do this. Mm-hmm. And I just remember my tag for it made him so angry, because I'd always be like, it's like X-Files. And then he'd be like, no, it's not. And you know what? I think it really... that's just how it resonated to me, because I grew up with X-Files, watching it. That was about the only scary thing I got to watch. It wasn't.
I love the X-Files, yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that was a bitter pill to swallow. Try to be like, it's the X-Files. No, it's not. But that's how it felt to me.
This one really was more like one of those kind of low-budget, gritty, campy, drive-in style vampire films. This is one of those kind of movies that you would have seen made in the 80s or the 90s. That's really what we were going with.
What we were hoping we would get.
Yeah. And what happened was, and this is where it gets interesting, because we had a 20-page script.
And yes.
We were given 4 days to shoot this movie. So what happened? We ended up cutting the script in half. It was like 9 or 10 pages by the time we got done with it. And the thing is, in the original 20-page script, the first act of the movie was character build-up and plot explanation and all that. The second and third acts were just straight action horror thriller. The stuff you want. And what happened was, we had to cut out a lot of the goods to make the movie possible. So it ended up being the first half being character development, the second half being the action horror movie. You know, I'm okay with that, but the original vision for the film was more the meat of the movie. You know, and that had to get cut, and it's so painful to watch your baby go like that, because that's what I wanted to see, and we just kind of had to wing it, because, you know, when you take a 20-page script and cut it down to 9 or 10 pages, you're dealing with a different animal.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main problems. I remember really not the reading of the script, but just having it resonate with me. And then once I was looking at the short ends of each day of shooting, I'm like, this isn't the same thing. It's still good, but it's something completely different.
Yeah, but you know what? We said, let's go ahead and shoot it, because when we were in the middle of, proposing this movie to everybody, because we had about 10 different stories and scripts get submitted, and 3 films were chosen. And on the day when we had to get up there and pitch the movie, I told people, look, I'm not going to direct this thing. At least that was the plan, because we had 2 directors lined up who might be doing it. We won't mention their names because we don't know if they want to be mentioned or not, but we had 2 directors lined up. They didn't come through, and then basically I think you and I talked about it, and I'm like, I'm just going to have to step up to the plate and make this movie.
A lot of this stuff we were like, oh, we'll do this or we'll do that, and we ended up having to shoulder it like... luckily, we had the school, so we got access to a lot of great gear. And what was it, $500 for a budget?
It was a $500 budget. In the end, went a little over, but not by much. I had to fork a little out of my own wallet, but
yeah, got to keep them wheels greased.
Yeah, so you're looking at a $500 production. This is what it looks like with the help of the school.
Which, the $500 we spent, that was great. The gear was priceless. But I did have to do a little bit of tap dancing because we stored the gear in one of Valencia's trucks at my house, which was where we shot it, which was another one of the burdens we bore. But it was...
I like shooting at your house, though.
It was fun.
We should say that we had about a 20-man crew. So you had like 20 people in your house on a day-to-day basis.
God miracle, nothing broke. That's very unusual, but...
The people working in your department who were in charge of the heavy things?
I would say that some of them were very skilled.
Yeah.
But even considering that with a lot of beginning filmmakers, gear will bounce off of walls. Like it is going out of style. You will end up with crevices. You will be replacing stuff you didn't even expect. There was one incident where I think the sound guy stuck the boom into a fan, and that was it.
I remember that.
I think everybody was just kind of like, ooh, that's interesting. But other than that, it didn't even break the fan. It was great. All the people I worked with, it was a joy. But having the stuff there, I had to keep an eye on it, which luckily my neighborhood was real small, so it wasn't too big of a worry. And it was just kind of funny having a tap dance. Like, Ralph, could you help us out a little?
Ralph Clemente was the director of the film program, and he was also our executive producer. He's the guy who gave us the money to do the movie.
Lots of love, sir.
Thank you very much. We want to say that right now.
That without you, we would have never been able to know what a film was like, because through that program we learned so much.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Yes, it was definitely... I would go so far as to say it was a priceless experience. I've done a lot of things here and there, and it was the most enjoyable thing I'd ever done.
In pre-production, we had about a month to get this movie ready to shoot. And on top of that, we were signed up to work on the other 2 films that had been chosen. So while we're trying to pull all the strings in the world to make this movie happen, we're running in and out of other sets for different films. And it just was really hectic in the lead up to that, because that script, when I wrote the dialogue and a lot of the scenes, I considered it to be a sketch rather than a painting. And when I handed it off to whoever was going to direct it, original idea, they were going to polish it up and clean it up, and I was going to do that in the month leading up to it. Yeah. Instead, what happened was, oh my god, how are we going to get guns? How are we going to get makeup? How are we going to have a vampire? How are we going to cast all these people? Where are we going to shoot this movie? Every day, we were dealing with a big new thing, and if we didn't solve it, we were going to be 100% screwed. And this is in the midst of working on other movies.
Yeah.
So it was insane, man.
We both stepped into it, and I remember having to work... You had to work on 2, unless you were directing. That was the exception.
And I still signed up for all of them.
Yeah,
I don't know why I did that. I worked on all of them.
Yeah, and
crazy.
I did to some extent too, but Peter was under the knife, throwing himself into all 3 and then doing all that stuff, because I was just grunt. I take the electric stuff and I put it in the right spot. Mm-hmm. As long as I don't bang it into an actor's head, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I remember coming in on a couple of the pre-production days, and Peter's just like, what are we gonna do? Okay, what are we solving this time?
Yeah.
How are we gluing the world back together today?
Yeah, and we'll solve the damn problem. Like, we are good at doing that, but...
We don't have a house. Oh, let me see what I can do. We don't have guns. I might have something that can fix that problem. We don't have a vampire. Oh, I know how to fix that one.
Mm-hmm.
I got the right solution for you, sir.
Mm-hmm. One of the requirements when making this movie, I was told to cut out no mother effers. That's not allowed to be used. It was a phrase, you've heard it before. No, we couldn't do that. We had a lot of F words in this movie, and I promised to cut down on half of them. And then even after that, it still seemed like a lot.
It was only half as foul as it should have been.
Yeah, because the whole thing was when I wanted to make it feel like a hard R-rated movie.
It panned out all right. But I remember Peter and Ralph just sitting there and just poke my head in. I see Peter sweating bullets, and Ralph's looking at it, making that face. I can't make that face for the life of me, but if you'd seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That, oh God, I might just have to go sell my body on the street or, tap dance like I'm selling nails, if you will, to get this by.
I wanted to keep all the language I could. So, I mean, those are the characters. You'll notice that the main amount, all the language for the most part comes from the two outlaws in the movie, Spider and Rex. The younger kids, they may say it every once in a while because they're young teens. They think they're bad and stuff. But really, the outlaws are the ones that are saying it. In my other short films, I don't always have people spitting out language like that because the characters aren't like that. Like in the last short film I did, there were 2 swear words, and they came from the intruder breaking into the house. Nobody else in the movie used any language because that's how the characters would actually talk or act. And that's why I wanted to keep all the language. I'm like, these guys aren't going through a G-rated film. And, even still, I think we kept a fair amount.
We're not going to try and Disney this film. Not for that sake, because this is the character. It's just some foul jerk that is a thief in the night because he's hard.
Yeah.
Arr.
I guess we could talk about some of the things that we had to plan out, like the parking situation. We had some people park at Walmart, and then we had people getting transported from there to his house. And there were some people that were allowed to park at your place, and then certain people parked at Valencia. It was a really interesting situation. We had 2 guys running transportation.
In retrospect, I wish I just said hoopla to all that, because there was like I go and do exercise in my neighborhood now. I'll walk around, there's this one guy's got a line of like 20 cars in the back of the neighborhood on the sidewalk. I'm like, why the heck didn't I just let these guys do that, But you know what, I didn't want to piss the neighborhood off and get us kicked out before we were done.
Yeah, we didn't want that. I didn't want that. Yeah,
it was definitely, I think it came into play. We really realized it the first day, because first day of shooting at my house anyway, how many cars there were, and a lot of people were like, well, I don't want to park there, I'm like, I know it's a problem, but look, seriously, we're trying to shoot out here. We can't have you lined up along the street. It's going to break suspense outside.
We're already pushing a giant truck out in front of your house. We have 20 people running around.
Nice big 5-ton truck, Valencia on the side of it.
Yeah, we're already causing a ruckus. So we don't want to make it worse than it has to be for anybody who's living there. And I think we did the best that we could. Keep in mind, we had a month to figure this out with other films in the mix, so we did what we could.
So many things!
Yeah.
But we got through all the parking and stuff. Luckily, we got all the gear in and out. Never blew any breakers, but it was really hard to customize a package. Luckily, our DP was perfect. He knew exactly what he was doing. I remember being so mad when we were filming.
We should mention his name and give him props.
Definitely.
Thumbs up to Josh Coffin.
Josh Coffin, yes.
Thank you, and you did an excellent job.
If you're watching this, thank you, sir.